Blog Talk Radio.
Why am I here now? Why am I talking to, you? How am I showing myself? That's not going to stop me. That's not going to stop me. Doing what I need to be done. Doing what I need to be done. Doing what I need to be done. Why am I here now?
To the Universal Truth Evolution Blog Talk Radio channel. I am your host, Jerry Avalos, taking you to places that major media tends to shy away from. So hi to everyone out there in the chat room today. We have an awesome guest here today, which is Bo Manley, self-proclaimed alien posing as Earth-dwelling human, which I think a lot of us here can relate to especially. So you're right at home today, Bo. So make yourself at home and make yourself known to the crowd here.
Yeah, thanks, Jerry. It's good to be here. I always love doing stuff like this, so I was looking forward to this.
Yeah, definitely. It's always cool getting like minds together to talk a little bit about our experiences of what's going on here on this wacky little planet we're all inhabiting here.
Yeah, for sure. It's been some crazy weather. I know you live in Southern California, so I'm sure you probably experienced the weird weather that's been going on. Just been paying attention to.
Oh, absolutely. Actually, the weather once again knocked out our landlines here, so I'm actually having to call in using my cell phone today. So our phones just went out when it rained, and then it was back for a little bit magically, and then now it magically disappeared again. This weather kind of off again.
Last night when I was sleeping, I was laying in bed. I woke up in the middle of the night just freezing, like super, like beyond. I've never been that freezing before with heaters on and everything, and wind was whipping so hard. Because I live on top of a mountain, it sounded like my house was going to get knocked off it. It was flattened, and I just kept thinking of like the day after tomorrow scenario. I thought I was going to get up and it's just going to be like white.
Yeah. Yeah, you're gonna see that frost like creeping towards you.
Yeah, that's what I thought was happening, but I'm glad it didn't. But I'm about mentally prepared for anything. I'm kind of just riding the waves as they come. Whatever happens, I want to be flexible so I can, adjust quickly and get doing what I need to do.
Yeah. And lucky for you, you already have the all-terrain vehicles there. Actually, on that subject, maybe we should let some of our listeners who maybe aren't too familiar with you and what you do, just a little bit about yourself, like you are and what you do. So,
basically, I'm a professional motocross rider, and I've been riding dirt bikes since I was like 4 years old, and I'm 31 now. So, traveled all over the world, got to meet a lot of interesting, fun people, be in a lot of interesting, fun situations, and obviously got hurt a lot, and so I kind of backed off and don't really do the crazy stuff. I don't do backflips or none of that. And I still ride on the regular just to keep my, physical stamina, as well as just, it's fun. It's therapy. It's what I've always done. It's what I, enjoy the most in life is riding motorcycles. So I still ride them, but now what I do is I have an ESPN.com/action web show called The Manley Show, and then I just appeared on The Daily Habit on Fuel TV, so I do stuff for Fuel TV on occasion, which is an action sports network, skateboarding, snowboarding, surfing, on and on, X Games sports. And then I acted in a movie, first time ever, this summer, did a movie with Danny Trejo, better known as Machete, or he's in Predators as well, but he's been in a lot of movies, Con Air, on and on, but just, I'm I guess what you'd say, a multi-talented, all-around kind of guy, and I'm not an expert at anything, but I know a bit about everything,
Very cool. Yeah, that's really cool. Cause actually, I think it's awesome having people like yourself on the show to really demonstrate how so that our multi-dimensional aspects to ourselves, meaning that I think in the past, like past generations, it was all about like you have your career, you have your one thing, and then that's what you do, you reproduce, and you die. I mean, and it's like I think in that generation, like I'm 32, so same age pretty much. And kind of we're showing everyone that, no, do as much as you can, man, while you're here, and so that's really cool. I think once again, the audience really can appreciate, having that sort of broad perspective,
Yeah, what my deal is I've been anti-establishment since birth. I was born to fight the system or go upstream, and when I was a real little kid, I had really strong psychic abilities and like ESP, and could basically read people's minds, and it's starting to come back actually now. But I've also, when I was a little kid, I didn't know it was weird. I didn't think there was anything wrong with it. I didn't know that other kids didn't do that until they sent me to school. And we all know schools where they tear you down and mold you and shape you into the robot zombie that they want you to be, the consumer they want you to be, And so up until that point, you're free when you're a child. That's why I know a lot of people talk about when their kid has an imaginary friend, before all the programming and poisons have taken place, that they probably really are seeing that something else that you can't see. I've heard, I read a lot of books and read and heard many things about kids when they're little all having these abilities.
Yeah, I think, and you're right, because as time goes on, we are programmed a certain way, and how I think a lot of our listeners would be familiar with this story being like what I'm going to call starseed or indigo crystal, whatever you want to call those, the awareness that like the generation after the baby boomers really, like I think the baby boomers, that's where the seeding part was going on, but I think especially after that, it's like the rest of us started just being able to, here, and then they're put on us by that conditioning like you're talking about, and I think a lot of us here like all resonate with that whole, like we had a problem with authority. It's like there's a severe problem with authority there because we're seeing the hypocrisies in the system from day one, because we're like, how can you guys not see this, So.
Yeah, we were born with the ability to see right through it, basically. And ever since I was a little kid, I didn't even bother. Well, I was unteachable, I guess they would call me. They, at a certain age, they just medicated me. They just said I was ADD really bad, and they put me on Ritalin. And then at some point throughout my grade school years, I had a cool teacher that pulled my parents in or whatever and talked to them and said, I don't think this is the way we need to handle this kid. We can just work around him being different, and knock me off the medicine. And I don't know, it just left a sour taste in my mouth, and I've always been pissed off about it, kind of. And I know they do it a lot more nowadays than when I was a kid, and I just think it's lame, and I would like to see the day when eventually when people that are artistic or creative, that's embraced more as opposed to trying to just strip that from them and turn them into assembly line workers,
Yeah, exactly. And then actually coming from an artistic profession, it's kind of interesting because even those of us who are artists, they do the same thing. It's all focused on production art which is basically making people's product pretty. You know what I mean? It's not about expression. It's about one-ups and salesmanship. You know what I mean? So yeah, man, it's a trip, and it's cool that you have that teacher who was able to do that, man. Because it's like, yeah, I can imagine. How young was that when you got, like, when they did Ritalin?
I was in grade school. I don't know, second grade, third grade, maybe. And then I was on it for, I don't know, a few years, and then eventually I had a cool teacher that, you know, said, this isn't the way, and never touched it again. But I've always just been, you know, I've always just thought, I just thought different. They couldn't teach me. I didn't learn things the same way as everyone else. You know, I was always more artistic, creative, and you know, my mind wasn't in a box. You know, that term they coined later, think outside the box. Well, mine was never in the box, and mine was just floating throughout the universe. You know, just collecting what I could, enjoying myself. I still to this day have a very vivid imagination, and I don't even care what the rest of the world thinks about what I need to be doing. I do what I feel like I need to. You know, like, a lot of people, they end up caving in. There's a lot of people, you know, because the more you kind of try to break away, the more people try to lean on you to go the other way, you know. Yeah, they don't really want yet. A lot of people, in a way, I think, are kind of jealous or whatever, that they didn't have the strength to stand, or the backbone to just stand in their own truth and be them who they really are, you know, and then they're kind of like mad at you that you did, you know. They're kind of like, you know, they're kind of like mostly upset with themselves for not having what it took. But my whole deal is, since day one, people are always telling me, like, oh, you can't do that, or, you know, I've heard nothing but naysaying since day one in my hometown. I grew up in a, you know, a small town in Washington State, and you know, people in small towns, you know how they are, and sometimes that's where the most conformity takes place, you know.
Yeah, absolutely.
And, you know, no one wants to be that guy that everyone's talking about that's a weirdo, that, you know, the talk of the town. That it never bothered me, and never, you know. I mean, when you're younger and a little more insecure, like teenage years, it's always, you know, it's always kind of more of a battle. But once you get a little older and get more comfortable with yourself and more confident, and learn more, of course, you know, read books, kind of just everything falls into place. And, you know, at least for me, I knew that I was right all along. It makes you feel good, like a sense of accomplishment, that you resisted all that bombardment of negativity and this and that, and all kinds of, you know, persecution from certain groups and whatever. But I think it all has its place. For me, I know now that it was all just lessons being taught.
Yeah.
You know, at the time I didn't realize it, but now I just look at it as what made me who I am. You know, I wouldn't have been as strong as I am if I hadn't had to overcome all those obstacles, and grew up in a harsh climate, and you know, broke 16 bones and hit the ground hard and had to heal and overcome the, you know, every time you get hurt riding dirt bikes, when you come back to do it again, you're a little scared, you know. There's always that fear that's back in you because you just got done getting hurt, and you know how bad it hurts, you know. But you got to muster up the willpower to basically punch right through that wall and do it again. And then once you do, I mean, most normal people I always describe, because people would always say, oh, you're dumb. When are you going to get smart? Why would you, after you got hurt once, why didn't you quit? Like, that's what your average person will tell you. Even doctors, medical professionals, you actually have to, once, you know, all the pro dirt bike riders all live in this area, so we have luckily cool doctors here that if you do get injured, you can go see a guy that specializes in all motocross guys or action sports guys, and they have a whole different approach. They don't tell you, oh, you need to quit doing that. They actually tell you what you can do to heal up faster so you can go do it again, and get you back out there. But in my hometown, every time I went to the doctor or the hospital, the doctor would be like, oh, it's time to quit. It's time to hang it up. You got hurt, you know, like that's pretty much what they would tell me.
Yeah, I think too, a lot of doctors, I think they're used to seeing a lot of conventional sports too, like, football, basketball, things like that. It's like, what you guys do is a little different, and in a lot of ways. And so, but and I think in a lot of ways too, the motocross enough credit athletic-wise, because I don't think people realize how much energy you have to expend, like pulling and pushing that bike back and forth, and everything. So, but yeah, it's interesting how, you see the different attitudes in the doctors for sure. But I think it's cool, honestly, and it's really admirable how you stuck to your own character, and that's really your message here. And I think that's what more and more people need to hear right now, because actually some of the subjects we deal with here on the Universal Truth Evolution, it's like, most people don't believe it. They think it's a bunch of crap. And so it's like here we have all these documents from, the various governments, as well as our own experiences that are like, well, no. And I think some of us sometimes waver a little bit in ourselves because of just the tremendous pressure. So I think it helps when we hear stories like yours that kind of not only make you aware that things weren't usual in this planet as they try to make it, but also kind of even going one step further and having this out of the ordinary profession at the same time. So I think that's very cool.
It's funny, I was just thinking about while you were talking about that is I remember being in school and sitting there and just not even bothering, I just checked out. I was like, I don't need any of this. This is useless information. Pretty much this is stupid. Like, usually kids that have, like, certain, I don't know, I guess they call it star seeds or whatever, usually have, like, higher intellect than the rest of the kids. You're just, born that way, and you perceive things differently, or maybe you have you grasp concepts quicker, or things like that,
Yeah.
I remember them telling me, especially in U.S. history, I remember I was like, I have absolutely no interest in this whatsoever. As I'm sitting there and all the other kids are doing their work, like, I never brought my books home. Like, I didn't even bother. Like, and I was still smart enough to, like, show up to class and just ace the test,
Yeah, that's pretty much what I did too, actually.
Yeah, I'm like, you know what? You already took 6 hours of my day. 5 days a week. When I go home, it's my time. You already stealing my time by making me sit here all day. And so, like, that was my, like, outlook on it from the time I was a little kid. Like, when I go home, I'm riding my bicycle, I'm skateboarding, I'm riding dirt bikes. School has no place in my home life, And that was kind of how I saw it, and that's just how I ran it, even though people got mad at me. But all in all, I mean, now that I'm older, and especially all this information because of the internet and guys like you and Aaron and just all the people, Project Camelot and Project Avalon, just all the, you could go on for days with all the sites with information. Yeah. But because of all that, now I kind of, stuff that is true, but it's stuff that's forbidden information or stuff that they don't want you to necessarily know because it'll piss you off. But now I feel like, like I'm a fifth grader, basically, so to speak. Like, I've been learning for years, but I still have a long ways to go, and, like, every single day I wake up with a thirst that can't ever really be fully quenched for new knowledge, Every day I'm like, I tell everyone, like, if I learn, like, at least one valuable piece of information that I didn't already know every day, I feel a little disappointed, and so I search, like, tirelessly for information.
Yeah, I totally relate to that thirst, and that's why even, like, that's why I take it upon myself to try to make something too every day, because that way at least that's a new thing, at least to me, new information.
Yeah, exactly. It's like doing something, or maybe you took a different route home, like just any little thing. Yeah. Just absorb something new,
Yes, that's actually awesome advice, honestly, for people who are kind of thinking like how they can maybe deprogram themselves or like get out of their rut. That's exactly it, Bo. I mean, seriously, I took that same thing to people, like, oh, what do I do? I'm not sure what to do. And I'm just like, well, just don't do the exact same thing. Walk around a little different, or you know what I mean, or you know, and yeah, I think it's underappreciated. So it's really cool to hear you say that.
Yeah, no, that's what I always tell people, and for the last however many years, I've just been doing a lot of research, and I'm always around people because of my profession, or maybe people look up to me to a certain extent. You know, you have fans, that people that look up to you, and then I've so many people write me on Facebook or on Twitter or whatever, just like they didn't know anything about any of this stuff until they saw me like ranting about it. And then they ended up going, or I'd tell them to YouTube this, watch this. And, you know, now you see these people are just fully into it. So it's like spreading virally, you know, like they listen to me, they watch it, and then they're telling all their friends at work or their family. Who knows how many people it reaches, you know. And and there's a lot of people I've done that for just by, like, I don't give a fuck, straight up. That's who I am. I don't care if people don't agree with me. I don't care what their opinion is of me, actually. And I just do what I do. I keep it 100% real. And I guess, you know, so I'm not afraid to go out and say, you know, that today the sky is filled with chemtrails. It's ridiculous. Why aren't, you know, making people realize, acknowledge, look up. It's right above you. You're just sitting there at Starbucks chatting about your favorite reality show characters like they're real people. And, you know, and meanwhile they're just spraying poison on you. You don't even, it doesn't even matter. You're more concerned with, you know, what the chick did last night on some staged reality show, you know?
Yeah.
It's just, like, it blows my mind sometimes, like, when I'm just around, like, the quote-unquote, like, I call them sheep, but the regular people, like, they're fully just, like, they live in la-la land. They live in, like, this fictional, what I describe it as, the analogy I usually use is like a zoo exhibit. You know, you see tigers at the zoo, and they're, you know, they're living in their little artificial environment, and they're tigers still, but they're not really. I mean, like, a tiger's supposed to be out in the wild, you know, completely, you know, doing whatever the fuck it is it wants to do, you know, and it's not supposed to be waiting for some guy to come feed it every few hours, you know. It's not supposed to be on a fake rock little thing. It's cute for us to go look at them, but that's not a tiger's purpose. It's not why it was born. It's not what it, you know. And that's how I view, like, humanity a lot of the times, is like we're meant for so much more, but unfortunately the whole program was hijacked a long time ago, and people don't realize that they're still in that little zoo exhibit, and they don't even realize there's a whole world outside that zoo exhibit, you know?
Yeah, I think a lot of people who listen to the show, either in office or in the archives in the office, I think they'll totally relate to that. I mean, I worked in some offices for a while, and it's funny because that's really what happens when you put humans in cages. Bad, you see people go stir crazy, and sometimes don't even realize they're doing it. And it's like, wow, see, this is why you need to go, like, throw a spear or something, or build a fire. You know, just get back to you know. Just for a little while. And back and have fun with your USB pole dancer. But yeah, that's cool. Speaking of things flying overhead, I know you said you've had experiences seeing different kinds of craft and such. Is there any that really stick out in your mind as being, like, pretty, like, whoa?
We see, me and my wife Anna, we see craft all the time, and so we live in kind of a cool place, like a special place where a lot of weird stuff happens, you know, whether it be supernatural or interdimensional, I don't know what you'd call it, just maybe like vortexes and stuff like that. Just weird stuff happens, and Aaron and Meredith can attest to that. They witnessed some weird stuff when they were here visiting, and what some would call weird, but I guess I think it's totally normal. It doesn't shake me up very much. You know, I like to think that that it's a privilege to be able to see those things. You know, like I'm glad. I wish everyone had the chance to see those things. You know.
Yeah, seriously.
But anyway, I had one real eye-opening UFO experience. Like, not this last summer, but the summer, maybe 2 summers ago, like not this summer, one before, but where I saw a UFO, like it basically told me and my girlfriend at the time to go outside. Like we just both had this impulse. Like she said, like we never go outside. We live way out. I live on a mountain out in the country off narrow dirt roads, and there's no street lights. There's no sidewalks. It's not like you're going to the dog parks. You know what I mean? And basically, like we normally wouldn't just go walk around outside, and we're sitting there, we're laying on the couch, getting ready to relax, watch a movie or whatever, and I already just sat up. Like I sat up and was getting ready like to slide my shoes on. Like I instinctively was just doing it, and then she looked at me and she's like, "Let's go outside and go for a walk or something." I'm like, "Yeah, that's what I'm doing. I'm putting my shoes on." And we went out there and we walked up the dirt road a ways, and I don't know why, we had that, you need to go outside, so we did, and we walked up there, and it felt like we were looking for something, but we hadn't found it yet. And we get out there, and all these, dogs were barking at this one property. We're like, no, not that way. Went another way. A rabbit or something was in this abandoned house and like made some noise and scared her. We're like, all right, not that way. And as we were walking back down the dirt road to my driveway, we were about to go towards the house where the lights were on. I'm all, hey, there's big, huge boulders here, like 'cause it's Southern California. There's like rocky desert kind of landscape. I'm all, hey, let's go over here instinctively, like I was just guided. But let's go over here where my dirt bike track used to be. And so we walked around the corner, and I'm all, oh. And we look at each other, I'm like, do you see that? And she's like, yeah, oh my God, what is it? She's all scared because she didn't believe in, ETs or any of those things, She thought it was all for like sci-fi geeks or something. But I knew all about it, so I was excited. I was amped. I'm like, yes. Walked around the corner, but at the same time, it was just hard to even explain the feeling that was going on. It was just weird, It was like, I felt super calm. I've never felt more calm ever in my waking states, and since I can remember, if ever, my whole life, just absolute calm, absolute peace. Felt good. The thing was like, it came up from the ground. It came up from the other side of the hill, and it kind of just slowly kind of went up into our view from the other side because we're on top of the mountain. Kind of hung there for a minute, and then it started working its way toward us. And I'm just like staring at this thing. I remember she was kind of like wrestling, like grabbing onto my arm, like, let's go inside, like all scared, like, she just didn't want to deal with it. She was scared of it. And I told her, I was like grabbing her arm, kind of, so I was looking away from it, dealing with her, interacting. And I'm like, why would you go inside? I'm like, hands down, this is probably the coolest thing you're ever going to see your whole life. I'm like, you really want to go run inside right now and just, how many people would be so pumped to see this, And she just, whatever, and then I turned back around, and it seemed like it got so close and so bright, and I don't know how to measure the distance off the ground it was, but it wasn't very high, I literally, at the time, thought that it was going to land right where we were standing because it's a big flat area that got flattened out that used to be a motocross track, just a supercross track, actually, like the way it was just a perfectly flat area. Like you couldn't even find a more perfect landing pad for them, So like I wasn't really thinking that much, but I just had that feeling like they're coming closer. I'm like, they might just land here right now. But I was just totally entranced by the thing, Like I just remember staring at it, just being like jaw dropped, just totally just frozen, just staring at it like. But I felt happy, Once I really, like, as it got closer and I just kind of got locked in on it, that was it, pretty much. Nothing else was going on, I was just entranced by the thing. I have no idea how much time elapsed. I'm sure it wasn't that long, but I didn't really have a sense of time. But
what was the shape?
What?
What was the shape of the craft?
It wasn't round, but maybe a little more oblong. But it was just it was just super bright, like kind of white light. It was kind of was just a bright-ass light at first, you know, when it came up. And then as it came closer, I want to say that underneath I could see, like, the other lights that kind of gave it its shape, you know, because from the side it was just like a glowing, bright white light. But as time goes on, obviously it's harder to recall the small details. But the overall deal was is then while we were staring at it, because the thing's silent, you know, in my head I kind of felt like I was hearing kind of like some sort of hum, like an electromagnetic kind of weird, like stony sci-fi like hum in my head, you know.
That's cool.
But, yeah, kind of sweet, you know. But then other than that, it made no noise, and you know what I mean. It just sat there and kind of hovered as it was coming. Then we heard jet engines off in the distance, like way off in the distance, just, and then the thing kind of started making a turn towards the right, like it must have known something was going on, and it just took off, like started kind of flying away, gaining speed, and then it just went, disappeared. And then these two jet fighters, they were jet fighters, they literally like followed the same flight pattern, like hooked to right and kind of flew out in that direction. So we
that always kind of cracks me up. Yeah.
What?
Oh, sorry. That always just kind of cracks me up thinking about our little jet planes kind of putting after these things. You're like, wait, guys!
Yeah, no, I just think. I don't know. I just think they do that to like run them off or something. You know, maybe they don't want people interacting with them. Maybe, you know what I mean? They just want to keep us all in the dark. You know. But anyways, yeah, that's what they did. And up in that general direction is March Air Force Base. And then if you go like a different direction from us, kind of like to our backs, the way our backs were, because we were facing kind of towards March a little bit, maybe a little off to the left. But behind us would be at the coast, Camp Pendleton. So, you know, we hear like Army copters going overhead on occasions. We run back and forth. And so March for a jet fighter to get in the air and get over here took a matter of, you know, a couple minutes, you know, not very long, you know, how fast those things go. By the time they took off and pinned it, they were here, you know. So that's kind of what happened there. So then we turned around, like, whoa, you know, it was a lot I wasn't even really processing it at the time. I was kind of in shock still. It was, like, shocking, you know, but it was, like, a good shocking. It wasn't bad. But when it happened, it was, like, you know, a shock to the system. And as we were walking back towards the house, the lights are on in there. It's all dark out there. You know, you can see pretty good out here, all the stars and the moon. If it's a full moon, you can almost see, like it's really dim daylight. Like you could walk around with no flashlight, you know what I mean? But as we stepped back in the house, into the light, with all the lights on, I told her, I'm like, man, I feel weird. I'm like, I feel kind of fucked up. I'm like, I don't even know how to explain it, but my legs felt kind of weak. I just felt super drained. You know, just like, I don't know, just zapped, you know, like it took a lot of energy out of me for some reason. And so that kind of after that, a friend of mine, a psychic friend, Anya, said that I may have received some sort of downloads or something. And when things like that happen, it has all kinds of activations go on, and then a lot of them are subconscious, so you have this crazy turmoil underneath, and you might consciously be going like, whoa, what happened? Kind of like what you're saying, you know. So. Yeah, exactly. And the thing that makes it so sweet is, I'm telling Anna there's like a FedEx guy or something here. I'm telling her to take care of it. But anyways, yeah, a week or two before that, the neighbor guy above us had that's what really set the whole wheels in motion over this whole like ET everything. Like me and my dad, like, I believed in him my whole life. And Anya says when I was a little kid that may have been visited by him. But we're getting ready for X Games, and for us in our sport, X Games is like the Super Bowl. You know what I mean? It's like the biggest thing, or the Olympics or whatever. It's prime time live television on, you know. Doesn't get any bigger than that for exposure and for your sponsors and whatever. Everyone's excited. We're revved up, ready to go to X Games, you know. And I don't ride in X Games. I was just hyped to be there and watch all my friends do their thing. And so I'm getting ready to leave, and right before I was getting ready to leave, my dad said the neighbor guy came down. He was down here. My dad was down here at the time, and he was outside working on the Harley, like changing a throttle cable or something, and the neighbor guy came down like distressed looking, kind of stressed out, tripping, and he's like, "Hey, Bob, can I talk to you about something?" And then he's like, "All right." And then he told him that basically about this experience he had. And this is a guy that wouldn't make something like this up. He's like a Christian pastor in some church, you know, like it kind of goes against it, you know, their whole teachings, you know. And it would ruin his credibility if he just came out and was saying, "Yeah, I saw some sort of beings, they telepathically communicated with me." People would be like, "You're nuts, guy. You need to go to the hospital," you know. But that guy basically came and said that one night he was laying in his he had like a weekend warrior, kind of like you know, when people live out in the country, they get like recreational vehicles that they stay in while they're building a house, you know. Basically, it was like one of those deals, and he was in there like laying. I don't think he was asleep. I don't remember all the details of the story. I just remember like the overall outcome. But he was laying in there one night, and all of a sudden, I don't know if he heard the knocks first, but he heard like a knock on the side of his thing. It scared the shit out of him, so he like knocked back. And then the thing, like, however many times, like 3 times, 4 times, and then whatever it was, knocked back the same amount of times, but it was super high up on the trailer, you know, like 13 feet, 12 foot, however tall it is. So the thing was tall, had reach, you know. And then he said, like, he got, like, a clear vision, and it's like he could see outside while he was in there. I don't know. Like I said, whether or not the thing knocked first or after this happened, I don't remember that part of the story because I didn't really get to talk to him about it. But anyways, he got a clear vision of his property outside of where he was, but he wasn't out there. He could see like the land and where they were, and he saw this being walking up like during the winter here in California. It doesn't rain much unless it's winter. If it rained a lot, it would be like a little stream, you know, like a little river running wash, and the thing was like walking up the wash, and it kind of like turned around and looked at him like it was fully aware that, you know, it was aware that he was watching it, and turned around, looked at him, and just said, you know, without words, telepathically said, like, we're an advanced scouting party. We mean you no harm, basically, and like that was basically all he told him. I was like, we're just checking. He basically told him that we're just checking this area out. Don't worry about it, kind of.
Yeah.
I don't know exactly the wording, or like maybe it was just, I don't know, it didn't happen to me. But that was the property that's just right above where we saw the UFO. So that was like 2 weeks before we saw the UFO. So after hearing that story about this being talking to the neighbor guy, and obviously it freaked him out, like scared the shit out of him. But it got me excited. I'm like, yes, things are happening, you know? I was like, it's on, you know, just fully confirmed. I'm like, this guy wouldn't make this up. I know he's being 100% honest, and even if he was lying, I'd probably be able to tell anyways, you know. And I was just pumped. I was so stoked. Like, I wanted to talk to him and ask him all about it and get information. And then I was getting ready to leave for X Games, and my dad walked up there, and I could tell him that I wanted to talk to him and question him and kind of get information. He's like, all right. He's up there visiting with him. I'm leaving to go to L.A., which is, you know, 2 hours, hour and a half away. The guy's like, waves. He's like, yeah, come on up anytime. And then I went there, and then after that, I never saw him. Like, the guy would just come home and go straight in there, and, like, he was kind of, like, you know, reclusive. He didn't really want to, maybe he freaked out and didn't want to talk about it. I don't know. But basically, moral of the story, I never got a chance to talk with him about it until way after I saw our UFO. And then it was like, I went to X Games that weekend, and it was like the weekend after when we got the little message, go outside. And there was a ship hovering there, you know. So it's kind of cool that this little area, for some reason, a lot of weird stuff goes on. But I know that guy, once I talked to him many months later, said that he had seen the thing on, like, numerous occasions, maybe like 3 or 4 times, I don't know, but he said one time he saw it in broad daylight, and he was at, I don't know, it was like morning right when the sun comes up. 'Cause we live out in the country on a mountain, you know what I mean? Like, it's pretty, I mean, there's not very many people out here, you know? It's a pretty, it would be a great place if you're coming to, you know, like from off-world or somewhere to go mess around and maybe not get noticed so much, you know?
Mm-hmm.
But anyways, he said he went outside early in the morning and looked over, and there's these big boulders, like I was telling you about, these big rocks are just in the landscape. They're huge. Some of them are like, you know, bigger than most people's houses. And he said he looked over to the left, and the thing was standing on top of this rock, and it looked over at him, made like some hand gesture, and stepped off the rock and just disappeared.
Huh.
But he said it was like, it was kind of, basically how he described it was like a Bigfoot, basically, from what I got from it. It was like a, you know, somewhere between 7 and 9 foot tall, like, you know, the thing was covered in hair. Until, like, I guess it was all fully covered in hair. I don't know, I didn't see it, but at this point I wouldn't doubt it, you know, like, who am I to say what it was, but I think it sounded cool. I'm kind of bummed I didn't get to see him, you know.
Yeah, it's interesting. So big.
Since they're benevolent and they're not trying to hurt anything, I told them, come on back. I'd love to meet you, you know.
Yeah, seriously, that's interesting. So Bigfoot gives him the thumbs up and blinks out. It's pretty sweet.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think, it's in, that whole area actually is interesting. I think kind of it's really intriguing to me now, hearing your story, especially you know, the timing of that, because it just, you know, we're both in Southern California, all like, you know, significantly further away from each other. I remember that a couple of summers ago, that was like, there was a lot of activity, especially, you know, 2008. I even have a picture I took from my house of some kind of flying thing really high. And so it's interesting that there was so much activity around that time, it seems, let alone that area that you're out in, because actually the area that like Aaron's in, you know, actually we were dog sitting for him recently, and we experienced some interesting entities, shall we say, that are there. So it seems like those hills in general, all the way down there, like the southeast California, seems like there's very active, a lot of portals or vortexes, like they're saying.
Yeah, and I know that this land in particular was sacred ground for Native Americans, and I mean, I don't know the whole history, because who knows how long ago they were here, or when how long it's, you know, been out of their hands, basically, the land. But I was told by a psychic in Washington one time, because I was like scared as hell to sleep in the one bedroom, because I always had like weird things happen. I'd wake up all scared all the time and had like dark figures standing over my bed and just shit that was just super scary, you know. And she told me that it was like Native American land, and that, you know, it wasn't like just me that at that particular time, that they just didn't really like anyone being here. And and then that was like around Christmas, like years ago, like, I don't know, a handful of years ago. Then when I came back from being up in Washington, the neighbor lady was out here. My dad said she could come and like find rocks and, you know, just do whatever she wanted to do, like for, you know, to landscape her yard. And and she had found some artifacts, actually.
Huh.
So that kind of it was like one of those things that they use to like grind stuff, you know.
Oh yeah,
kind of like a little bowl, but it's like a rock that has like the, you know what I mean? It's like a concave on the top where you could like use the phallic shaped object and grind stuff.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm talking about? I don't even know what it's called.
Yeah.
But
more impossible.
She showed it to me when I went to her house. She found it, and I was kind of thinking maybe you probably should have just left it there, you know. But anyways, we don't really ever have bad vibes here. If anything, the opposite, super relaxing. At least maybe because of how me and her my wife Anna, how where we vibrate at, we resonate with it, and I think it's I feel relaxed here. When I go into town and I'm around people and crowds and chaos, I can't wait to retreat back to the mountain and just go walk around in nature and just just hang out and just hear the sounds of animals, birds, whatever, the wind blowing through trees, just as opposed to car alarms and stereos bumping. You know what I mean? Like, I feel totally peaceful, and I do feel that from just my abilities and my intuition, I do feel that it's magical for sure at times. I'll sense like energies or things around me depending on where I'm walking. I get a good feeling if I'm supposed to be there. I get a bad one if I'm not, If something gives the kind of creeps, you should probably just not be there. Our friend Ian, I call him Genius Boy, but he was out here when I brought him out here the first time, and I wanted to show him this cool cave. Inside the cave, the rock's all charred, It's like basically I came to the conclusion the first time I saw it that Native Americans used to go up in there and probably get out of the wind and the rain and probably cook food or burn fires to stay warm. And you can tell it looks like it was used as an oven. The whole inside of this cave is just charred, And it's not a very big cave. It's not a very big cave. I'm not talking like a cave that a bunch of people like. At the time, maybe one person could go in there and prepare food or something, If it was windy and rainy or whatever. But anyways, he wanted to show Ian that cave, and we had flashlights. It's nighttime. We had another friend with us, a girl, and we're walking around, and Ian was just feeling the energies. Like, he's sensitive and has abilities too, and he was just feeling the land, how it feels, and I took him down in there, and he, Ian, he's like a super mellow, relaxed. Like, I can't even imagine that guy like having anxiety like ever, all of a sudden, Ian's all back up, like scared, kind of like freaking out. He's like, back up. He's all, there's someone in there, And he's like, there's a guy in there, and he's pissed, He doesn't want anyone in there. And, like, I fully believed him, because, like, we both know him. Like, he's, like, such a mellow, relaxed guy, and I saw, like, an honest reaction out of him where he's like, back up. And I'm like, whoa, what's going on? Because I didn't know it was, I didn't know that you weren't supposed to go in there. So ever since then, and my dad's been taking pictures when he comes out here, and you get so many orbs, like, he was here in the middle of the summertime, and he took a picture outside, and it looked like you took a picture with a flash. It looked like a blizzard.
Interesting.
And and time again. And then he did it on different cameras because there's always the skeptics, like other people maybe in the family or just whoever. Even myself, I tend to have a skeptical mind about everything and want to have scientific proof or some sort of proof to make it real, Because anyone can say, oh, yeah, I saw this or I experienced that, but unless there's some sort of proof, it's really hard to grab onto it. So he grabbed other people's cameras. He used like 3 or 4 different cameras, and all of them the same thing happened, just orbs everywhere. And sometimes they're like different colors, and sometimes there's ones that were huge, just like big balls of like different colored energies. And I could see if it was one camera, but when you're using different brands and different cameras and they come out in all of them, I'd say it was pretty much a successful experiment that there is stuff going on,
Yeah, and I think it's interesting too because like there's other just like interesting geological facts about Southern California, like some of the like being off of the certain parts of the Becker-Higgins grid, and then just the simple fact that like the southern portion of California is like one of the most output of the crystal tourmaline. So it's like you have these huge tourmaline and quartz crystals all over this land, like just in those hills. So you have these like mass crystalline structures. And I know that some of the commonly accepted explanation for some of these orbs is that and I think all of us are kind of saying, yeah, this is some kind of energy, and I think a lot of us saying it has to do with the ionization of the area of the air or whatever is going on. And so I'm wondering if things like these crystals, in relation to some of the places on Earth, if that kind of just makes this area kind of like a highway, you know what I mean, for all this kind of stuff. Especially considering, the hearing. Well, because I think there's obviously a reason that we know that a lot of the military and military-industrial establishments, how they put, they don't put bases places randomly. You know what I mean? There's a good reason they put things. And how you're saying marches out there, Pendleton's right there. You keep going out there. There's like 29 Palm. So you have all these military bases like right in this area too. And then you have all this UFO activity. So all the times that you've experienced kind of odd craft or whatever, have you noticed do the military seem to come out too, like after you see something kind of odd in the sky all the time?
That time, the first one that really opened my eyes and had that profound experience with me, they sent jets out after it. But a lot of the other times, me and Anna will just see them. They'll just be like for a while, I don't remember what month it was. It wasn't that long ago. Like coming into fall, in Southern California, it's still warm out. Sometimes it's hot. You could have an 80-degree Christmas if you're, on some years. We would look out the window and there's just one just hanging. There's always off in the distance, kind of just hanging by our house or by this mountain. Kind of, I feel like it's just watching us, or who knows? Maybe it's protecting us. Maybe it's keeping us. I have no idea what it's doing, but I don't feel any sense of fear whatsoever, or any sense of negativity whatsoever. I actually consider them, just observers, but friendly observers,
Mhm.
Maybe they're just cool. Obviously, if the guy saw the ground crew of something, maybe those guys were inner Earth beings. I don't know. I'm not an expert on all the different species of beings, but I know a bit about it. I'm not an expert, but the Bigfoot-looking guy, I don't know where they came from. I guess there's a few of them. That's the one who communicated with them, but because he said we are a scouting party, so I have no idea where those dudes came from, but they weren't trying to hurt anyone. So I feel like if they're not trying to hurt anyone or cause any, they're not frightening you, then it should just exist,
Yeah, and I think, once again, it's just kind of, I think that, many people probably aren't familiar with, the sort of intricate pattern of social diversity here in Southern California. So, like, when Beau's talking about, this guy being like a preacher out there, I don't think people understand. That's where, like, the Christian retreats are. So these guys are, like, hardcore, some of them. It's almost looking at their signs driving out into some of these places are mind-numbing, how devout they are. And so, a lot of these concepts would be like the devil to these people. So it actually is like a big statement when you have all these people going, aliens just telepathically told me they're on a scouting party, And then, exactly. I know, of course, and Ian and I are good friends too. And Ian's this very, very mellow guy and doesn't tend to freak out about just about anything. So it's like for him, it's like, oh, hey. It's like, oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, Ian, that's why I named him Genius Boy, was because when I had met him, I thought single-handedly this is like the smartest kid I've probably ever talked to, I was like, he looks a lot younger than he is, but I was like, this kid is probably the smartest kid I've ever met, so I called him Genius Boy. I gave him a nickname. And I've learned a lot from him. Usually, I haven't talked to him in a little while, probably since I saw you guys at Aaron's. But, but you could ask that kid anything about just random topic. Just ask him a question. He'll give you, a textbook answer, He's like a walking encyclopedia on all things, I guess, unknown to most,
Yeah, I'm sure one day we'll probably have Ian on here consulting on something. When he and I get together, we tend to be up to like 4 in the morning, just conceptualizing and talking on stuff. So yeah, and actually we might end up being down your way soon because we've actually been doing a lot of mining for crystals. Since there's so much available on public land around here. Like I was saying, right? There's big old crystalline forms all out in this area.
And there's natural springs of water too that come up, like up on mountaintops where you can go get yourself some, I guess, energetically charged water to drink.
Mhm. Yeah, it's cool. I mean, that's one thing I always tell people about California. I mean, it's like I really do not subscribe to the doomsday theories of us falling into the ocean. And this place is going to keep going for a while, I'm sure. And it's one of the few places on Earth where you can do some world-class surfing in the morning, world-class snowboarding at night, and do a little bit of dirt biking in between. All in the same day if you wanted to. So,
you can do some stuff. It's crazy. It's just crazy. There is a wide variety of people here. Whether it be like ethnicity or nationality. I used to live in LA a little bit in Burbank and just Glendale area. It's like being in Armenia. You know what I mean? And I actually thought it was kind of cool because I was with an Armenian girl at the time, and just like learning, just like experiencing their culture, without having to travel to the other side of the world. You could like immerse yourself in different cultures just around Southern California,
Mhm.
You could learn a lot.
Definitely.
That's kind of always been my thing when I traveled and went places. I kind of just was a watcher. I interacted, but I don't think my friends or peers did so as much. I was more like culturally observing things and just kind of trying to learn everywhere I went. I think other people kind of just went to do their job and go back, went to, like, for example, I was in Guatemala before. I broke both my wrists there. And I know that's pretty close to some of the Mayan stuff. And I was down there, and when I was in Guatemala, I didn't get a chance to go see any of the pyramids because obviously I got hurt. But I was there for like a week, but I was kind of just taking it all in, just kind of observing how society functions in different countries when you go there, and just how people interact with each other, and what's socially acceptable to one place is obviously completely not socially acceptable somewhere else.
Mhm. Yeah. That was cool that you had the opportunity to travel all over doing what you do and just checking all these things out too. So that's very cool, and I'm help shape your view of things here in America too. Considering all, like I said, I know you're obviously into all the stuff we talk about here, so I'm sure it was probably very informative to get the perspectives from these different countries of how we really do interact and how different we are.
Yeah, absolutely, and I don't know, like that's a whole other topic. The stuff that goes on in America. That's usually a topic that gets me, I guess you could call worked up or enraged. I guess you could say it pisses me off to no end. And what pisses me off is most people's negligence. Most people they just think everything's going to be okay. Like the government's got it. Oh yeah, they made this law to keep us safe. Or what I mean? Like they're just so brainwashed and so fucking stupid that. It blows my mind sometimes. Sometimes it actually makes me really sad. Sometimes when I go places and it just trips me out. It just makes it could almost at one moment in time give you a sense of hopelessness,
Yeah.
When you look around and you're like, we're fucked. That's pretty much like I told Anna sometimes, like that's why I don't ever like to go to Walmart, like for any reason whatsoever. And keep in mind we live in Southern California where things are somewhat progressive. But imagine going into a Walmart in just the middle of the United States somewhere. Just what a culture shock it would be,
Oh,
Someone actually sent me a funny email showing Walmart people, like photos of different people from Walmart, and it's like, remember that? It was a trip, wasn't it? Like you can't even believe that's not fake. Like those were really, that's how those people really were. Like you'd think they like did it for entertainment purposes, but that's just how they roll, you know?
Oh yeah, I like the makeshift T-shirt ponchos. I love that. I've seen those still pictures too. Yeah, man.
I don't like even going there because like I'll just get all mad. You know what I mean? I'll look around and I'll just get all just like fuck. We as at least a society are completely doomed. You know, it's like that movie Idiocracy. I don't know if you've ever seen that movie.
Actually, I haven't caught that. Yeah, but I really want to. I've been hearing a lot of good things.
But yeah, it's basically the guy from Mike Judge made it. You know, the Beavis and Butt in Office. This guy.
Yeah.
It's like about the future, you know, and about like how basically everyone de-evolved to like a state of just. I mean, I can't. You have to see the movie, but it's funny. It's a comedy, and it's kind of like that. When you go to Walmart or something, you look around, you're like, we're already living in that movie, you know?
Yeah, definitely.
But anyway, but I balance it out with like the positive. That's why I always tell them. Because most of the research I do when I'm on the internet scanning and looking for stuff is about stuff that will absolutely just piss you off, you know, and just make you so angry. But at the same time, then you got to balance it out. I feel like as long as you balance it out with stuff that makes you happy, then you're all good. But if you just like focus and put your nose in the corner and just focus on the negative stuff, then you're gonna obviously be on a bad one. You're not gonna be very happy. So I try to balance it out and then go. Let's just say I've been researching, I'm getting kind of worked up or whatever. Just put it down. Go outside, go on a walk, get some fresh air, enjoy nature. Listen to music, do things you love to do, you know, and just balance it out.
Yeah, definitely, and that's why, you know, speaking of balance, I know that's why when you or I do have to enter Walmart, I think of us as that balance to the those who are living in that state of idiocracy, while those of us who are in occupying the same relative space don't. So we're trying to pull that balance, you know, to something better. And we're actually at the top of the hour now, and usually what I do now is I play this little song, give you a chance to grab a drink or whatever you want to do for a few minutes, and then we can jump back into it. So some of the stuff I want to talk to you about, like magical flowers. And,
I love magical flowers. You just made me smile.
So we'll talk a little about that.
Everyone should love magical flowers. That's why they're called magical flowers, because they make you feel magical.
There you go. So and then yeah, maybe if there's any other things that we want to discuss, you know, that you don't get a chance to, and you know, in some of your other medias, so you can just go off about how you feel about, you know, GMO stuff or chemtrails or whatever else. You got a sympathetic crowd here, so. Yeah, let's play this. Let's gonna play a song right now. Since everyone seems to be enjoying this one these days, it's my buddy Kirk Ross and his little ditty called Pumpkin Poem. Help mellow us out here while we think about the happy magical flowers.
come to compose next us. Here, images leave us from intermittent light, creeping shadows unfold.
Welcome back, everybody, to Universal Truth Evolution Blog Talk Radio with today's guest, Bo Manley. How's it going, Bo?
It's going good. Got myself a little beverage, and I'm straight.
Awesome. Yeah, and thank you to everyone for sticking with us here. We're going to be talking a little more with Bo about his thoughts on a couple of different topics, and as we talked about at the break here, one of the things I know that you appreciate is expanding one's conscious with responsible use of natural plants and such. I know one of the common plants I know that we both appreciate is Salvia divinorum. And I was hoping we could talk a little about this because one of my fears manifested itself, not recently with Miley Cyrus taking the bong poke of the salvia, because now it's like I think I'm sure that there's some soccer moms out there who are thinking, ban it, oh my God. So we have to kick some knowledge to everyone here, Bo, about the virtues.
Yeah, my favorite plant to smoke's weed, but marijuana.
Yeah.
But, in California we got the medical marijuana and all different flavors and strains and hash and liquid oils you can put on. There's all kinds of edibles. I don't know. You can get all kinds of let's say you're not someone who can smoke. You're an old person and you're dealing with you have a lung condition or whatever. You can sit there and have this liquid THC drops, and just fully feel way better, feel happy. It doesn't get you all crazy spaced out. People always think, you know, like, if you smoke that stuff, you're just out of your mind. Like, people that don't do it or never have done it, they don't have a clue, you know?
Yeah, no, it's true too. Yeah, we should definitely talk about the medicinal use of cannabis and marijuana, because it's like, I don't think people realize like how before the whole reefer madness, crap was propagated, it was commonly used for centuries to help different ailments, and then of course now we have our different methods of science that are just proving that to be correct still. So yeah, I mean,
exactly. In some states, that's what really pisses me off to no end, like infuriates me, is the fact that luckily California is one of those cool states, and where they do have a medical marijuana program and people can go and legally buy marijuana and legally use it and not get fucked with for it. But there's these states in the, let's say, Bible Belt or certain areas of the country where it's so demonized, and people are doing prison sentences, for a plant. Like, to me, that's so ridiculous. Yeah. It defies common sense beyond belief that people are that stupid. Like, you're really that stupid, like, that you would even sit back and accept that as being okay in your state, like, and allow, them to lock up people for possessing a plant, which obviously it's a plant, it's natural, it belongs here, it's supposed to be here, or else it wouldn't be here,
Yeah, it's like saying God messed up. So all those out there who are really into Christianity and its conventional modalities, to tell you, God doesn't mess up even by your rules. So get over it. It's not the plant; it's the people who do these things that you don't agree with. So it's true.
Not only that, if it wasn't a criminal activity in places, then it wouldn't have a black market value. Then, all the criminal aspect of it would just not be relevant. I mean, do you see people doing by shootings or robbing people for cases of soda, Like, just how dumb,
Yeah, but then that's the other thing, too, is that, like, I think that people have a misconception of what goes on here in California with, like, especially now that we do have the legal aspect of it, where they think because we have, actually, honestly, we have very, very potent pot here. We pride ourselves on. But the thing about it is that it's not by putting Miracle Grow in it. It's not by dropping acid in the soil. It's actually by growing a good crop like you would any kind of produce vegetable. So any crap you're hearing about people dumping meth in it it just doesn't work that way. It kills the plant because it's just a natural plant. What happens if you do that to roses? You're going to kill your roses. It does the same thing to these plants. You have to set up conditions for them. And so it's like, this is one of the things I go off on too, because if people realize it's like how I'm with you here on the natural part, because it's a natural remedy. It's a natural thing.
Basically, just in a nutshell, I guess, because you could go on for days with the conspiracies and the dumbing down of society and the fluoridation of, water, toothpaste, basically the poisoning of society. All the things that go on, it's fucking just, to me, it just defies belief that people are so stupid that they don't recognize it. You know what I mean? Like, to me, I just wonder, my question is are they ignorant by choice or are they just plain dumb, And that's really what it comes down to. Either they're choosing to ignore it or they just are dumb, And
I think a lot of it's they're naive too. I think a lot of people can be very naive because like the same crap that we know that people actually believe that the government is really looking out for us right now. You know what I mean? And I think they really believe that crap.
And they also really believe that Middle Eastern terrorists flew planes into a building as well.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that produces molten metal. Yeah, I know. I hear you. And that's why it's good that we talk about it, because I mean, like how I'm sure you've probably researched this as well, and how even the natural aspect of the plant itself even transcends into our bodies, because our bodies have receptors specifically for the THC. It's not for anything else but that, and we're born with it. So it's kind of like, how can someone say, oh, that's bad? Or now they're going to say, oh, it's the Anunnaki putting that in there so they can control us through this evil plant, and I don't buy it.
No, not at all, dude. Especially anyone that really knows what's up. And I've been smoking cannabis since I was, a teenager, and I don't ever plan on stopping. If anything, I would say it's the least harmful thing that you could do to enjoy yourself, or whatever. But what I've found, what it does for me, is it just puts you in a better mood, makes you more perceptive. Maybe, I don't know. For me, it just makes everything better. It makes you more tuned in with nature, your surroundings, especially if you do actually live in nature, which I do. You go out there and you're just tuned in. You know what I mean? You feel fully just like you're just in the realm of the plants.
Yeah, and the interesting thing about it, Bo, is that I don't think people realize that is a literal fact, because it's been demonstrated now that how those when someone smokes or ingests cannabis, they dip into alpha range in the brainwave more and more, which is gets in the 7.86 kind of hertz range, which is the same as the Schumann resonance for the Earth.
Yeah, that's what I mean. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah,
you get
exactly.
tuned in. You got to get tuned in. And then once you're all tuned in, then you can just go and, for me, I'm out here on the mountain, I can just go sit down and just feel fully tuned in with my surroundings, where I'm one with my surroundings. I'm just sitting there and I'm part of it, and it feels awesome. And not only that, it helps with aches and pains too. I don't know how much it actually helps when you're smoking it with aches and pains. I think it helps more when you eat it or use the liquid drops. It's more of a body thing. Yeah. But it definitely makes you not think about it. You're not dwelling on oh fuck, my arm hurts. You're just so happy. You're like, man, this song sounds so sick, and you just turn your stereo up, and you're just rocking out, and you're just happy, you're enjoying yourself, and I guess that's probably why it's illegal, is because it makes people happy,
Yeah, seriously. We can't have that. We can't have good, happy, love vibes going out everywhere. Then good things will keep happening.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
See, that's the thing. They want people to be all stressed out and depressed because of the economic state or whatever, oppression's going on, and then they want them to go to the bar and drink alcohol, which is fully socially acceptable and fully promoted, and then people go get drunk and they fight each other and beat up their kids or crash their car, and just all kinds of gnarly stuff happens. It's bad. It's proven time and time again that this shit kills people, but that's totally fine, there's nothing wrong with it. But if someone does something that's absolutely harmless, it just makes them maybe less productive, I guess.
I even contend on that. I mean, you're even proof positive that less conductive isn't something that happens with cannabis and achieving what you have. I mean, I think you as a
for me, it helps me focus, actually, since I was that, I don't know, I guess I was misdiagnosed, but they said that I was ADD or whatever. I can't focus when I do smoke, and then it always helps. I always have to. Music's been a big part of my life since I was a little kid. Music's aside from, I would say single-handedly, it's my favorite thing in life. So I turn on music, and then you're just tuned in, and then I just focus on what it is I need to do, and I do it.
Yeah.
My brain's not skipping around. I'm not thinking of all these. It's you get tuned in, you're on that level, that frequency, and you're just focused on what you're doing, and you get it done. And so for me, it's the opposite. It actually helps me do stuff, because if it wasn't for smoking and slowing myself down a little bit, I'd just be bouncing inside my head like a pinball machine, It's all ding, 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 jumping around. and I'm really not, I'm just spinning my wheels. I'm not going anywhere, But then when I slow it down a bit and just allow myself to focus on one thing, and then I can accomplish that thing, and then, I've found for me, I just got to take things one thing at a time. I can't, try to multitask too much. I got to kind of, everyone multitasks this day and age, but I try to just focus my attention fully on one thing and do it right, and then. Yeah, and
it's interesting because I'm sorry, go ahead.
Oh, no, I didn't say anything.
Oh, okay. I thought this. Okay, it must have been echo for my thing. But yeah, because I think for me, like when I was younger, I used to party more and this and that. And then I stopped smoking for a while, like good, like years. And it was slowly introduced again. But the thing was, I had probably like many can relate to the story. Like when I was young, I started getting migraines. And, you know, for a while there, I was popping this, like, over-the-counter pills, like, all the time. I'm like, what the hell good is this? You know, this is like, you know, what is this? Why is this okay? You know, kind of thing. And I kind of stopped that. But then as the cannabis got introduced, I noticed that actually my head started feeling better. And I'm like, wow, this thing might actually work. And then actually I did get my doctor's recommendation, went through everything. And yeah, honestly, I'd be lying if I said it wasn't effective, and because I'd just be downright stupid if I didn't accept the help, because it's, you know, and so that's one thing I wanted to share for people to know, that like how, you know, once again, like how you, Bo, how you're saying it helped you in your situation to help bring in your focus, and for me it helped me alleviate this pain, and so it's kind of like, it's not like, you know.
It's a little evolved. I live in constant pain because of my motocross career, and that's like I said why I kind of took upon hosting and acting and doing other things, because I was tired of hitting the ground hard, you know. But it helps with a lot of things, a wide range of things. Let's just say someone has an issue where they can't eat, you know, and like, for example, cancer patients or even people with HIV, they give it to them. It boosts their appetite to eat. It helps them, you know, stay somewhat more healthy than they were before, you know. I mean, if you don't eat for a long period of time, you're pretty much fucked, you know. And you're gonna deteriorate a lot faster. But if you're, you know, using cannabis and it helps you, you're able to take down food and eat and get nourishment, then it's gonna help you, you know.
Yeah, and I think you can probably attest to this too, being kind of a quote max user, I guess you could say. Is like how unlike things like alcohol, like where there's an inebriation, like you're just like, you get drunk, you have some kind of motor function things altered, but with the cannabis, like at one point you become familiar with it, and then you pretty much tailor it to pretty much how you want to be. I don't know if that's what you're kind of finding now too.
Yeah, absolutely. You can smoke too much, just like anything. You can do too much anything. Let's say you love your mom's apple pie. You eat too much of it, you get sick, or you feel sick. Obviously, you smoke too much weed, you're not going to get sick. But you know what I mean? It's too much anything. You drink too much water real fast, it makes you feel sick. You know, like, so like, you just find out how your body works and what works for you, and that's what I do. I just run it, you know, I find like a fine-tuned machine. I just tune myself up how I need to be. And then I'm flowing, you know. I'm cruising. I'm just taking it as it comes, and it definitely helps. And what the thing that really just pisses me off is that there's people in the world that don't have access to it because of some crazy political reason. And I think every human being should be able to make their own decisions and be able to pretty much do whatever they want, as long as they're not harming others or infringing on others. You should be able to do whatever you want. No one has the right to tell you what you can do, you know?
Yeah, exactly. And like other countries, they kill people for it. So
that's the age I feel like we're living in, where people are starting to kind of get a grip, you know, over all these eons. People have just been allowing other people to control them, and then they're getting to a point where they're like, you know what? I can make my own decisions. I'm capable of functioning. I don't need somebody telling me how to be and what to do. You know, I can do, and that's kind of what I hope. At least that's what I'd like to think is happening. I notice more and more people kind of snapping out of it, and just in everyday life encounters where it seems like people are becoming more aware of the 360-degree view around them. You know.
Yeah, that's true. Because I think at one point, you know, if someone considers themselves reasonable, or they think that they are of a logical mind, there's evidence for all this stuff. Everything from what we talked about here, from UFOs, chemtrails to cannabis, it's like that proves our point. You know, it's like those people who always these lame things I hear about. You know, it makes you forget things. It makes you makes you lazy. No, it makes that person forget things. It makes that person lazy because you know what? I have a pretty good memory, and I'm not lazy. When I am lazy, I'm lazy by choice, not because of the plan.
Yeah, same here. Exactly. I'm not lazy either. When I'm driven and I have a fire burning under me and I really want to accomplish something, I get it done every time. If I don't give a fuck about it, I'm not going to do it. It's plain and simple. You know what I mean? So, but from the outsider looking in, from your average, full-on program member of society, they're like, he's not doing this. He's not following the rules. They don't realize that their system or their structure is meaningless to you. So why would you be following those guidelines?
Yeah, seriously. And I think this goes for even other. I think this story of cannabis obviously goes into hemp, which is different from what we're talking about, and then also into things I even feel like the poppy, because that's not heroin. You know what I mean? It's like there's a process that has to go through to become a heroin. The poppy plant, it can be poisonous if you take a whole bunch of it, but so can a lot of plants that are just sold at Home Depot. You know what I mean? So. What's that supposed to mean? We're going to ban all plants that might be poisonous? Well, then we have to ban, what about the laundry detergents and bleach and all these other things? So it's ridiculous. It's ridiculous about, like, this of these plants. And that's like how I brought up salvia before, because I hate to see that happen with salvia, because it's really, it's a whole other thing than even cannabis, really. It's its own thing. It's not, you know what I mean. So.
Yeah, exactly. I tried the salvia was pretty cool. The stuff that I tried was pretty mellow, but I was actually scared because I never tried it before, and I've heard people say like, "Oh, it's so gnarly, dude." You know what I mean? Like, I've heard people say that it was like super gnarly, so they had me all mentally, psyched out. And then actually, my wife just went for it one night. We had that there, and it had been like maybe a week since we got it, and I'm like, I don't know about that stuff, but it's one of the things that was like having it sitting there on the coffee table, looking at it. I was curious. I was taking it out, smelling it, looking at it, feeling it in my fingers, like, what is this going to do? What is this? And finally, I knew deep in my inner being, I knew, like, you're going to do that, guy. You know what I mean? You're not, at some point, you're going to take a bong hit of that stuff, you know what I mean? And then it just took her just to be brave enough. She went for it, and then once we got kind of used to how it works, like you said, with anything, once you realize how it works and where you're comfortable operating at, we just set up the right environment. Had the fire going, candles, had the lights turned off, some mellow music playing, to where you set the mood, the atmosphere. And then, you partake in it. It doesn't last very long, and it's kind of a cool thing. Actually, it's a way cool thing. But before that, I had done DMT, so I've done that too. So obviously, in comparison, it's not nearly as gnarly, That's just gnarly, but I loved it. Honestly, I think DMT is ripping too,
Yeah, I hear a lot of interesting experiences about those who've tried DMT too, and I know like how I know because there are different kinds of salvia that you can have, which kind of where they'd be more likened to like just shooting you off into a different dimension, because that can happen with the salvia too. But the salvia, really akin to like the DMT, really does have a very strong spiritual sort of, almost intelligence as to kind of where you're at. You know what I mean? In that experience, I've noticed. So it's a very interesting plant. So it's like it can be sort of like a bridge between something like cannabis, which is like a very good overall tuner, and then you have the salvia, which is a little bit more type specific to who you are and what you need. And then you have the DMT, which is like, welcome to the universe.
Exactly. It's so, like, I went to a shaman, so it wasn't like we're just getting stuff and experimenting. Every time, everything was done in like a professional, somewhat what I consider professional setting, an appropriate setting, I guess is a better word. So I went to a shaman, and the stuff he has, he calls it roomy, but it's, I mean, I guess it's a form of DMT. I don't know the exact specifics of it, but I guess it's super strong. But anyways, it was hands down the most epic experience I've ever had. So I left there feeling so happy, so tuned in, such a change of perspective, such a better understanding of, the universe, I guess, if you will, God, the universe, yourself, whatever you want to call it. After that, I highly recommended that literally I think everyone should have that experience at least once, If you've had that experience, you'll see things totally differently, I assure you,
I think that's one thing, just to kind of interject something, is that I think that, the conditioning that people have had to be afraid of these kind of experiences is really just programming, because if you think about, all the pollutants that have been intentionally put in our bodies now limit us from so much of the things. If it wasn't there, we would probably be having a lot of this awareness without having to do all this stuff. But unfortunately, this is the world we live in. You, Bo, you did what you had to do to maintain your focus to achieve what you had. I did the same, but it's kind of like we can't judge. The thinking on conventional modalities of thought. Because I think the whole idea of everyone should do DMT might be whoa to some people, but you're not saying oh yeah, let's just go all slam it right now. You're saying, I know what you mean. You're not talking party time.
At some point when you're ready, obviously I'd been trying to go see the shaman for months, and I'd been it was actually before I went and filmed that movie, and I was wanting to do it. I was man, I gotta go by my birthday. I kind of, and then it just never happened until fall or a little later into fall. And when I went and saw him, I mean, that guy is fully tuned in. He's a shaman. He lives in those other realms. He visits them often. Man, the guy's awesome, for one. I think he's one of the raddest dudes I've ever met. Such good energy, so happy, so positive, has such good insight and, points of view that he can share with you. But when I showed up, I'm yeah, man. I'm I've been trying to see you for a while, dude. It's long overdue. And he's all, well, you're here now. That's what he said. He's well, you're here now. I'm that. And then after I did it, the experience I had coming out of it, I was tripping. I was kind of having anxiety as I came back to my body, because your mind at that point in time, especially if it's never experienced, leaving the mind, it, your mind's trying to get back in charge and go sort through it logically, what just happened, what's going on here, where do we go from here, and so I'm running my hands through my hair because I'm having anxiety. I'm taking deep breaths, and I looked at him. I'm dude, I'm tripping. And he looks at me and he's laughing, and he's truly, you must be. Fully Yoda from Star Wars, dude.
Nice.
He just has little simply put, and one other friend I went before, and she's all scared, I guess, and she went before me, and she's what if I die? Which you're not going to die. It's just not going to happen. But anyway, you're scared because it's some extreme experience, and she's what if I die? And the shaman's all, what if you do? Who cares? I'm because he has another, he has a more developed understanding of, what's beyond our 5-sense reality and our matrix. He knows, he's traveled the universe. He knows, and so he's so what if you do? And she's if I do, I'll be pissed. The guy's classic. Every time I go there, it's always something. He's classic. The world definitely needs more people like that guy. You know what I mean? I think what he's doing after visiting him, dude, the world needs more of these guys. You're setting people out on a whole new. Once you leave there, you have a whole new understanding of just everything. You you don't sweat the small stuff as much. Before, you're caught up in the matrix, in the maze, just fully, like, it seems so real. And then afterwards, you're kind of like, you realize you're so much bigger than this whole, a lot bigger than the person that you think you are, and much more magical and awesome. And basically, you come back, and then when something little happens, like before that, you would have like had road rage and been flipping people off and wanting to fight them or whatever. Who cares? Who cares? You know what I mean? Like, whatever. Like, I don't know. It was cool. I brought my wife there when she first got here, and I brought a few other friends there, and everyone, pretty much every single person, like, says it was the best thing they've ever done. Like, the best feeling afterwards of just love and happiness and hope and just things that are empowering, that make you feel like, yeah, I can do this,
I know, it's cool. That's the thing that I think that it's why it's important that we have stories like this, because the stigma that's been in place once again about things like shamans and what it is, and to really have these experiences, because it's kind of like I don't think people realize how deeply ingrained that dogmatic programming of religion has really kind of distorted their vision and kind of inhibits people from experiencing stuff that for all rights and purposes no one's from. I mean, because for instance, we know for a fact, cannabis has never killed anyone, and it's physically impossible to overdose. But the whole stigma around it, stemming from the whole campaign in the 30s or the 30s, 40s, with the crux of the religious play and all that stuff like that, has been so deeply ingrained. I think it's just so important that we hear these, because what you're talking about, you're saying, like, I've had this spiritual experience, and when I come back, I'm no longer as angry, and little things don't bug me anymore. So all this is good. And so I think
it's all positive. There's nothing negative about it. That's the thing. And but let's just say you're telling your peers, whether it be work colleagues, whoever, people that you consider your peers, and they're just looking at you like you're a nut. They're like, hey, that guy's fucked up. There's something wrong with him. But you know what? Like, who cares what they think? Fuck them. You know what I mean? That's what I've always said. But I've always been like that. When I was in high school, actually, I was the kid that had I wasn't old enough to get tattoos or anything, but I was the kid that had the fluorescent day glow green hair walking through the hall. You know what I mean? I was always about breaking down boundaries and breaking down, like, how there's. I don't believe in boundaries really, to a certain extent. I kind of feel like we're all just like, at least with me, sometimes I just feel absolutely free. I mean, I know that the reality is once you get into quote unquote society, you got to like navigate through the maze. But in a sense, like, I feel like there is no like limit to what I could do if I can think of it in my mind, and if I really had the desire to do it, I feel like I could do it.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's kind of what got me to where I was on dirt bikes. For the most part, your average person doesn't ever have that experience of doing something so gnarly that, there's a very good chance you could die, and pretty much facing that fear, facing it and overcoming it, because that's what you have to do time and time again. And especially after a gnarly injury or whatever, and you're hurt and you know the physical pain, and most people don't go through that, in life. Some people, maybe they've broken one bone and they're like, I'll never do that again. But you just do it time and time again. But it shapes you and molds you and makes you kind of a different person that I guess a lot of quote unquote normal people couldn't relate to, because literally you're doing something they say, like I told you, the doctors, they're like, you're such an idiot, dude, like, or why don't you quit? Like, everyone just has that like pessimistic, like skeptical attitude, but it doesn't matter what any of those people say. Like, I always give kids advice, like, don't ever even try to fit in. It's pointless,
Yeah.
Because that's what people try to fit. Well, anytime you're not true to yourself, pretty much, is when you're the most unhappy. If you're putting on an act or a routine to, like, do what you have to do, which sometimes you have to do that. But the more you do it, the more unhappy you become. But when you just are 100% true, you know, that's when you find the most happiness and joy, and that's when you do. And then when you finally accept yourself, it's about pretty much about like what I learned from like doing the RIM or the DMT stuff and research is like pretty much you that's judging you, you know? Mm-hmm. No one else. It's pretty much like what limits you the most is what you tell yourself you can and can't do, you know?
Exactly. And here's the thing I think is so cool, Bo, is that you know how there's, in a lot of ways, what we do here at the Universal Truth Evolution is we're tied into the metaphysical realm a little bit, shall we say. And there's people who speak just on that concept that you just got saying right now. And they speak from a place of understanding, which you are right now too, which I think is good. Like I said, once again, that we have these different perspectives. So that not everyone has to live like Eckhart Tolle to understand, you know, essentially what you just got done saying, which leads into that freedom, enlightenment, something, you know.
Yeah, and then once you realize, like, when you really have an experience like that and stuff. I mean, I've always been, like I said, I didn't really care what anyone thought. I've always kind of basically had that inside track, you know, since day one, where I kind of just was myself. I didn't really try too hard to be anything else, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And so I already had that inside line, but then after doing stuff like that, just made me realize even more, you know, how much more important it is to just be true to yourself, and then also to be able to look at the past before I had that experience. Obviously, you read books and people tell you about stuff, but until you experience it firsthand, that's when it really sets in, you know. You can read all the books in the world you want about how we're all love and we come from the infinite, you know, everything. Basically, you are everything and nothing all at once, you know.
Yep.
And whatever, you know, all the stuff you read about a holographic universe and this and that. But when you actually experience it, that's when it's like it takes on a whole new meaning, you know. That's when you're like, yeah, that's exactly right. You're right, buddy. You know, if you met that guy that wrote the book, you just high five him. You know, you'd be like, yeah, buddy. Like, it's cool to have community and good vibes, and I like to congratulate people on what they do. You know, my whole life, I've never been one of those people that are like jealous. You know, like some people, there's a lot of jealousy over certain things. Like, I've never ever been that way. I guess that's just how I am, but I've always felt for me that whatever I'm supposed to do, I'll do. Or whatever I'm supposed to have, I'll have. You know what I mean? Whatever I'm supposed to have happen is what I'm going to do. So you can't really even measure what's right for you by what's right for somebody else, and that's what's wrong with the world. Everyone's trying to fit this one mold of a successful guy with his suit and tie on and his nice haircut and, you know, pulling in his new, you know, everything that the American dream sells you, you know. And that's not, I've never been concerned with that. I didn't care what anyone else thought. I was just about having it, I guess what you could call the ride of my life. I was just trying to have the ride of my life, you know.
Yeah.
I wasn't worried about what anyone else was doing. I mean, and I congratulate everyone. Was happy for everyone. Like all my friends, when they had something good happen to them, I'm sincerely happy for them because it's awesome. Every dog has his day. You know, they say that old saying. I mean, what's important to them, you know, that there's people, they're this thing means the world to them, and you know what it feels like to get something that means the world to you, so you can identify, you know. It doesn't have to be the same thing. Like, they're excited about, you know, winning some dirt bike thing, or the next guy, like, got to play music in front of his, you know, whatever, you know, got to play at a venue in his hometown, and he was excited. It doesn't matter whether your goal is to be like an award-winning actor or just do something nice, like get a community garden going. It's all the same to me, you know. It's like wherever you set your bar and you achieved it, then that's cool. That you don't have to shoot for the stars every time. You know, you can just be like, today I'm going to do this. And then when you do that, you feel good. It kind of helps build up your, like, self-esteem or whatever, your confidence, and just keep building. They're just building blocks. And so I don't really care what anyone else, because I know in, like, my world and my industry, there's always, like, in everybody's world and in job, there's always, like, standards that are set and different things. But I've just kind of blazed my own path and off in outer space somewhere, you know. I unplugged the cord and just went out into orbit, and I stayed. I never really tried. I felt like I told you, that whatever I put my mind to, if I change my mind and next week I decide I'm going to do something else, I'm pretty sure I can do that too, you know?
Yeah, and I think that's good advice of setting the realistic goals, you know. You're right, too many people get caught up in the whole, you know, either the American dream or you know, if you're here in the States, or just kind of the whatever standards they are. You know, some people even I love it when people call themselves perfectionists. That's such like an illusion, right? And but yeah, it's like, so that's a good advice of making, you know, attainable goals like that, because that really does change the energy of things, and it really makes things, like, it builds up your true confidence. You know what I mean? Not even just so much self-confidence, but real confidence, knowing that you can achieve something. You know?
Yeah, and for me, like, once, like, for example, like with dirt bikes, once I achieved a certain something that I wanted, or got the experience that I wanted, I was over it. You know what I mean? I didn't need to do it anymore. And, you know, because I grew up from the time I was little doing different disciplines of motocross, like, for example, you know, racing motocross, and then doing freestyle, which is like you see on X Games and that kind of stuff. Once I got to a certain level and I kind of got my feel of it, whatever I wasn't trying to be the best in the world, or, you know, I didn't need, only one guy can really be that guy for a period of time anyways, but I just was doing the best with what I could do with what I had to work with, and then once I felt satisfied, I moved on to the next thing, you know. Like, I didn't really care if the rest of the world didn't agree and thought maybe I didn't live up to my potential or whatever. You hear people, everyone's always got some negative thing to say about you. I mean, anytime you get sort of like media attention or anything, there's always people talking shit, you know. But the thing is, for me at least, I don't care. It doesn't matter, because I know I'm on my own trip and I'm doing my own thing, and whatever's next, it'll end up in front of me, and when the time comes, I feel like I've prepared myself just by going on gut instinct alone, prepared myself for whatever's coming my way. I'm pretty sure I got it, you know?
Yeah, and I think that's...
You don't know what's going to happen. We're living in a crazy time, realistically. I mean, the whole world could just go mad. I mean, it's funny I should say could go mad. The whole world has gone mad, but...
Yeah, it's pretty wacky.
Long time ago, way before I was born, but anyways, you know what I'm saying. Basically, shit could get hectic, or things, structures, or, you know, society as we know it would be greatly altered. You know, it would never be the same as it is now. Things could happen, but in the end, I guess, for me, it doesn't really matter. I don't really care. I'm just along for the ride, you know?
Yeah, and I think that's, you know, once again, I think that in terms of what most of us heard from a lot of guests who really kind of say the same thing. They just put in the context of, like, you know, not be the ego or that identity of, like, that would make you say, oh, I don't want to, I shouldn't do that because I care what the other person says, or, you know, or I don't think I can. You know what I mean? Stuff like that. And so it's cool, like, you know, putting in the context that you are of like, you know, really just being yourself and not worrying about necessarily, you know, not how to explain, yeah, just really being too attached, you know, to, like how you said, like being the best freestyle or being the best race motocross person, but you just the experience itself is what you're looking for, and for what it's worth. I think that's really cool.
Yeah, exactly. You know, that's what I mean. Like, I know I could have done a lot better, you know, but I had at the time what I considered mental problems, you know. And that's something I always thought as a kid, because, of course, when you're unique and special, which everyone is in their own way, and a lot of us just don't fit in, period. Anytime you try to put a round, a square peg in a round hole, it's not going to work, And so that's kind of how they describe it. That's kind of what they told me in school, and it's kind of funny. They're kind of like, school's not for everyone. I'm like, I could have told you that. but anyways, people I know I could have done a lot better if I would have just done different things. But at the end of the day, I'm happy with what I came out with, and I don't judge myself. I'm not hard on myself because I know I think people take this whole world in general just way too serious. I think everyone takes everything way too serious. I think the whole joy of being alive is having fun, laughing about stuff, like just having a laugh. Who cares? Fuck it, obviously there is serious subject matters, we were talking about chemtrails, the dark, heavy stuff that I guess obviously we do have to care about, but I'm just saying, all the petty, trivial, stupid things that, realistically don't matter at all,
Yeah, and then I think, too, that...
who cares what you're wearing? When you're in school or something, everyone's, worried about, their shit. Who cares? Who cares what shirt you have on? No, it's irrelevant. It doesn't mean shit,
Yeah,
but
exactly, and I think...
People get caught up. They get really caught up, and they're they think that, they're obviously it's ego-driven, but they allow their ego to drive and steer the ship too much,
Yeah.
I think humility and being humble and just accepting stuff the way it is a lot of the time, and let's say somebody else is different than you, maybe they're homosexual or lesbian or whatever you want. Everyone gets all in an uproar, and they're all mad about it. Who cares? It's not your problem. They're living their life the way they want to live it. It's not your life. It's not your issue. Worry about your issues,
Yep, and I think I think a lot of people have to realize that it doesn't do anything to worry. I mean, even about the big issues we're talking about, we need to be aware of them, and we need to use that awareness to inform our decisions and our choices in our life. But worrying about it or taking on the anger and fear doesn't do anyone any help. So I think
it'll make you physically ill. It's proven.
Exactly.
It weakens you. You become weaker. Obviously, it's only for example, hate. Because I've had a lot of that to deal with throughout my, growing up, my teenage years, just from a lot of it to do with school and society. I was just so filled with rage and anger and really just wanted to, fist fight people all the time. And I did, actually, when I was younger, just was always fighting people and, just getting violent. And that's just part of growing up. I'm not that person anymore. Obviously, I've evolved past that. But you realize once you become wise or wiser, you realize that the only person you're hurting is yourself. When you're mad at someone, they don't realize it. They're off living their life. It doesn't matter to them if you're mad at them,
Yeah,
It doesn't matter to me if you're mad at me right now for what I said, it really doesn't. So really, I think if everyone worked on themselves more, that's what I've kind of came out of it in the last few years. I've just realized that I feel proud of myself for the amount of, I don't know what you call it, but just how I've evolved and the growth that I've made as a person. I'm happy with it. I don't need anyone to give me a high five or a thumbs up or say attaboy and pat me on the back. I feel good about it. So, it's all good. But a lot of people, because of society, I think, in school, they raise you up to look up to an authority figure or someone above you to give you the head nod whether you're doing things right. What I tell people is we don't need that person. That person's meaningless.
Yep, exactly. It's two things important.
I always told people, because they asked about heroes, I said there wasn't anyone worthy of being my hero, so I had to be my own.
Yeah, that's a good way to look at it. I mean, yeah, you have to have a good sense of self, and yeah, we have to, like you said, it's kind of like we have to trust ourselves and let our what happens be our affirmation, not our affirmation come from someone else. Like we have to just, the actions that we make, the choices that we make, we just have to be accepting and know that we made them consciously, but not need someone to say, oh yeah, that's a good that's good. It's like, it's cool if someone does, but don't expect it or don't look for it to let you know that you're on the right path,
Yeah, and I remember, like, being younger, obviously, when I said that I thought I had mental problems. The only reason I thought that is because, obviously I was different than everyone else. So trying to fit in, or let's say the school system or whatever, trying to go there and learn or pretend that you're something you're not, that gives you mental problems, You feel like you're like, I'm fucked up. I'm obviously not like these people, but whatever. But once I got older and realized and, kind of grew into myself and kind of blazed my own path and did my own thing, then I was less hard on myself, you know what I mean? Because, like, everyone makes mistakes. We do it every day. It doesn't matter if it's the smallest mistake or the biggest one. But once you make them, then you learn from them, and then you try not to make them again. And it's all just a learning. Like, I realized that everything up until this exact moment was all just basically schooling for myself. I've been in school since the first breath I took, and I'm still in school,
Yeah, I mean, this whole planet really is just one big school learning experience, making it a school, in effect. Yeah, we actually only have a few minutes left for both, so if you want to let people know once again how they can, catch your show or anything that you have coming up, feel free to go ahead and let us know about that.
Yeah, you can just go to ESPN.com/action under the FMX page, because there's a page for every sport. There's the Manley Show, or you can just go to Facebook or Twitter and Bo Manley. And I don't know, I'm looking forward to 2011. I'm actually excited, and I can't wait to see what happens, because now I feel like we live in such an exciting time. Like, you never know what's around every corner, so it's like every day you get up and it's like being a little kid again. You're excited. You know that things are happening and we're evolving, and you never know. You could turn on the TV tomorrow, UFOs, just dudes getting out of them, waving. You know what I mean? Like, you don't know what's going to happen.
Yeah, absolutely.
So it makes life fun again. It makes it. I don't know. It just makes it exciting. I don't know. I don't know any more than anyone else what's going to happen or what's going on, and I'm just excited though. I'm just happy to be here and excited to be a part of it.
Yeah, absolutely. It's true. It's best to live in the world of disclosure, shall we say, than the one where things like that don't happen. It's just boring, atomic existence then, and that's obviously what you and I just don't agree with. So yeah, thank you for hanging out with us here for past. And thank everyone else who's been hanging out with us here and in the archives too. Check out Beau's show. And so yeah, thanks again, Beau, and hope to have you back sometime. Yeah, absolutely, anytime. I'm pumped on this whole movement and information age and all that. So, cool. Anytime I'm down. I appreciate you having me on, and I look forward to seeing you when you come out to visit Aaron. Yeah, definitely. Yeah, we'll definitely be in contact. I'm sure you'll be a familiar face here on the Virtual Truth Evolution Blog Talk Radio channel one way or another. So thanks again, once again, everyone, and we'll see you all next week, and we'll have some more great guests, and the great guests are going to keep on coming. So thanks for listening in the chat room and the archives, and we will catch you next time.
I saw a cloud today. I watched it change its shape into a dinosaur, a whale, a mermaid, and a plane. The mermaid was pregnant, and then it turned into a Doberman, and the Doberman just turned back into the sky. Then I I saw a real plane flying awfully low, man, dropping toxic chemicals all over my town. It said to help us